He drops out after a catastrophic debate performance, and they set Kamala Harris up to fail. That was a 3-month campaign, and she was supposed to introduce herself to the American people. No wonder people were Googling, did Joe Biden drop out? And so...
No. No. You're saying 3 months wasn't long enough?
It was too long. I mean, it was long enough.
It was long enough.
If they had a primary...
It's not that they didn't have time to introduce. They met someone and they didn't like them.
If they had a primary, they wouldn't have picked her. And if they had,
That's
she would have been
different.
able to
Yes.
rough out those edges that then she basically has to start from scratch with a campaign team she didn't hire that didn't like her, right? It was his team.
All right. Bill Maher is shown in this video. Bill Maher, that is. The one who typically takes a more left-wing position than a Bernie Sanders yard sign, absolutely destroying a pair of vintage automobile awoke visitors on real time. I can tell. You that the plot has utterly derailed when even Bill Maher confesses that it is becoming implausible, this is when things start to heat up. Many of the same folks who have spent years casting conservatives in a poor way are now propagating their own outlandish conspiracy theories surrounding election fraud. The sarcasm is clear. For as long as anyone can remember, conservatives have been seeking clear protocols and voter ID in an attempt to assure fair elections. But every time they do so, they are labeled as racists, fascists, or worse. And now, suddenly, these left-leaning pundits are clutching their pearls over alleged nefarious activities in the election, and get this, they're accusing Trump of somehow manipulating the strings. Yes, Trump, the guy they assumed was too dumb to tie his own shoes, is now supposedly a criminal genius. This is too genuine to be fabricated. Anyway, back to the main event. In this clip, Maher doesn't merely push back, he tortures their talking points. We're conversing full-blown intellectual arson. The visitors come armed with the customary buzzwords and bumper sticker slogans, but Maher isn't having any of it. He sets out the contradictions, exposes the hyperbole, and essentially states what a lot of people on both sides are thinking, but are too frightened to express out loud. So let's get into it. The moment when Maher turns the tables and dismantles. The woke thinking right there on live TV. Buckle up.
Everything the candidates, especially the Democrats, do to get voters annoys them. The constant texting. Did you get the texts like from Tim Walz every 5 minutes? And the, like always begging for money and knocking on doors. We've got people knocking on doors. People don't want knocking on your door. Who in this day and age wants someone knocking on? Kids don't even like it when a phone call. That's like too much of a invasion of their privacy, which they don't care about. Who might emerge as the strongest Democratic opposition leader in the next Trump era? Oh, well, that's a good question. I mean, like Adam Schiff, he won right big. And
he won big. I like Wes Moore.
Wes Moore's fantastic. He's in Maryland.
Yep.
But who's going to be the one? Gavin Newsom we have here in this state. He's already like called the legislature to. Trump hasn't done anything yet, but I understand the.
This was the problem. There was a 2014 study that showed that Fortune 500 companies were more likely to pick a female CEO if the company was struggling, basically setting women up for the big job, but to also fail. If they did well, fine. But if they failed, like, look, we have a female CEO while failing. And that's what I feel like they did to Kamala Harris. When Biden refused to step aside and not run again, he was supposed to be that bridge. He backed off on that promise due to arrogance. And then
this one down, since the rationale here is all over the place. There's this odd narrative circulating around that the Democratic Party was somehow compelled to make Kamala Harris their candidate. Forced? By who? The party wasn't under any divine obligation to pick her. They had a complete list of persons to select from, and they picked Kamala. So if the guys controlling the DNC are allegedly these experienced strategists, why on earth would they promote someone they believed was guaranteed to fail? It simply doesn't add up. If Kamala was a sure calamity from day one, wouldn't it make a lot more sense to put someone stronger in that spot? Someone who could actually energize voters, or at least not tank the ticket? But no. Instead, we're asked to infer they knowingly went with someone who couldn't deliver. That argument doesn't just bend logic, it body slams it. Take the claim that Fortune 500 companies appoint women CEOs only when disaster is looming. Even if there's some truth to it, the reasoning is likely simpler. After a string of poor leadership, boards might just be desperate for change. Appointing a woman isn't some plot to discredit her. It's a last-ditch effort to save the company. The idea that women are being set up to fail reflects how far the woke narrative has strayed. Instead of addressing real issues like leadership or business culture, it clings to bizarre victimhood theories. When identity politics drives your worldview, you start seeing oppression everywhere, even if you have to invent it.
I think that is a very high degree of difficulty to put on anybody, and I do not think she is the perfect candidate. I tend to agree with Sarah that probably in a fully litigated primary, she probably would not have been the Democratic nominee, but we'll never know that. But I will tell you that, there's never been anybody who's had the difficulty of that situation, elevated that late in the campaign.
Why? What? To run away from
Bill, I don't know if you know this, but the Vice President of the United States is basically shoved in a broom closet for 3.5 years.
I know.
You couldn't.
She was more popular in there.
Yes, well.
I mean, this idea that in a mass media age, that 107 days is not long enough to know somebody.
You are way overestimating the American people in terms of what their ability. No. You have someone like Donald Trump has become a universally known, understood, loved by some, hated by others over the course of being omnipresent for 8 years.
Okay.
Barack Obama becomes president of the United States after running for 2 years as president, runs a 50-state primary, is on television, does dozens of Democratic debates.
The dispute turned heated fast. No surprise there. They couldn't find any common ground, and things merely continued escalating. And like clockwork, Bill Maher strolled in with his trademark-biting remarks and literally ran circles around his guest. He wasn't just holding his own, he was dominating. The visitor didn't stand a chance. This one's surely worth viewing. Video.
Okay, but I don't know if you ever watched this show, but I had Michael Douglas on this week.
Yeah.
At the top, we were talking about this, and he made a very good point that every other country in the world can do it in months, sometimes weeks. Why can every other country do it in that short a period of time? Are they all so much brighter than America? I don't think so.
Well,
mostly parliamentary. I mean, there's literal reasons, right? We don't have a parliamentary system.
I mean,
we also have a First Amendment. We don't make people campaign this whole time. The American people want to give them $20, and so they can afford it. I mean, small dollar donors are arguably the worst thing that's happened to our politics, as it turned out.
It's a small dollar donor didn't make $20 billion. No.
A lot of it.
Some of it, yeah.
And they represent about 2% of our country.
There's a few special PACs in there that saw $100 million plus.
Those are bad too.
I think you can believe that you could have shorter elections in America, but it's not like we don't know. In Britain, for instance, when you have a short election, it's not like you don't know who the leader of the party is for months and years before that.
But you're either the person who's Googling the day before, did Biden drop out? Or in a week. Did anyone in this audience not know enough about Kamala Harris pretty much after a week to make a decision? No. Yeah, people.
How are you
it's ridiculous. We just get sicker of them.
What? So
how are you going to tell people they can't talk about politics?
What?
How with free speech that I know you love?
Yeah.
How are you going to limit people's ability to run for office?
I'm not limiting. We're not making a law.
Bill Maher was on fire on this episode of Real Time. Now, see, I don't always agree with the guy. He's hit or miss depending on the day, but this time he nailed it. His description of how to improve American politics was one of the most fundamental things I've heard in a long time. Get rid of lobbyists, block off third-party contributions, and guarantee that politicians are only being paid via their government pay. No outside money, no shady deals. Just a clean system where politicians work for the people. Sounds simple, right? But even in an ideal setup, corruption finds a way. That's politics. What really made this episode pop was how Maher dealt with two ultra-woke guests. Their takes were so extreme, it was laughable. Maher shut them down. Calm, sharp, and factual. What do you think? Was he right to call them out? And is real change even possible anymore? So, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.